Welcome to the Project Zion podcast. This podcast explores the unique spiritual and theological gifts Community of Christ offers for today's world.
Welcome to Project Zion podcast. This is Mike Hoffman at Graceland University, and today we're actually in the Swarm doing Coffee in the Swarm. And today I have with me Laura Harder, who is president of the Council of House Chaplains here at Graceland. One of the unique things about Graceland's housing system is that each house, which includes people the students on campus, each house has a chaplain, and then they're elected. And then at the end of every year, we elect next year's president of chaplains. It's one of several Graceland Student Government officers. So Laura, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Great.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you. It's good to have you here. So why don't we start off with telling us something about yourself?
Like Mike said, I am Laura. I am a student here at Graceland. I am a junior, and I'm from St. Louis. I'm a music education major, and one cool thing about me is that I'm actually a triplet, and so that's definitely very unique, and most people are very surprised when they hear that.
Yeah, that's obviously I know it because I know your parents. And,
yes.
Yeah. So in fact, today's interview is actually the day before your birthday, which is also, you were born on actually 9/11,
yes.
2001.
2000.
2000?
Yes.
Oh, so so you were a 1-year-old.
Yes, I was a 1-year-old when it happened.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I had you pegged. That's why when you said you were 21 tomorrow, it's like,
you're like, math does not make sense. But yeah, no, we were born in 2000.
Okay. Well, very good. So, just coincidentally born on 9/11.
Yes.
All right. Well, not so coincidentally, probably with your,
Yes.
Anyway, so very good. So you're a triplet. What's that like to be here with a brother and sister?
Yeah.
Here at Graceland?
Honestly, I kind of love it. I don't see them all the time. I definitely see my brother Logan more because he and I both do cross country and track. So I see him at practice and stuff. I'll see Lacey around too.
Yeah.
But it's really nice. I feel like I wouldn't want it any other way because I'm so used to them being here,
Oh, sure.
and like being around. And since I've been around them since I was like, before we were even born, like thinking about the fact that we wouldn't be together just makes me kind of upset. And like, we get along pretty well, which is good. We obviously argue like siblings do, but it's nothing like crazy,
Yeah. I can sort of relate to that because I'm a set of 3 brothers, and we were all born within 28 months of each other. And a lot of people thought we were all triplets when we were growing up, but yeah. And I understand the fighting part with siblings. Yeah, we did that, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. So what's your semester like at Graceland so far? The pandemic is continuing. Is it going okay?
Yeah, I feel like it's going okay. I feel like as a music education major, and I do cross country and track. It was a lot of work like the last 2 years. But when I added my Council of House Chaplains president position on top of it, it was like, wow, this is a lot. The first week or so I kind of struggled a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard to balance that, but I feel like since we're a little bit further into the semester now, I've kind of found my stride. And the pandemic, it is not very fun, and we still have to wear masks and all that kind of stuff, which I'm used to at this point, so it doesn't feel much different. But it is, it's gotten easier as the semester has gone on to finally fall into my role as chaplain president and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I remember I knew you were busy even last year when you were running, and I remember, thinking about, okay, gosh, she's got a lot going on, and then now she's running for chaplain president.
Yep.
But, I'm glad you found your stride because actually working with you the first few weeks, it hasn't seemed like you were really and not that you weren't busy, but it didn't seem too hectic. You didn't seem too crazy about it. So
and I won it, so I guess maybe I'm going into the next question you might ask about like why I ran.
Yeah.
And so my parents, and actually I'm a 7th generation Graceland student, which I think is crazy. So
that is.
So like since I think Graceland started, I've had family be here. So my mom I'm on Paloma at Graceland, which is one of our houses. And my mom was one of the like house presidents for Paloma, which is kind of like an RA position.
Right.
And so but before I came to Graceland, I always wanted to be a house president because I'm like, oh, that would be so cool, because I feel like, not to like brag on myself, but I feel like I've always enjoyed leadership and I wanted to be a leader. But when I came here and I realized I'm on cross country and track and I'm a music education major, I don't have time to be a house president. And so I was like, not that being the chaplain president doesn't take up a lot of time.
No,
but it's not as much
it's
of
not
a time
as
commitment.
Right.
And because I have the connection with the community of Christ, I was like, oh, I think I want to run for chaplain president.
Yeah. So you have one more year here. So do you want to be a house president next year?
I mean, I would hope to, but realistically, I don't think I have time.
Gotcha.
Because I know there are other people who are music education majors who are house presidents, but I'm also in cross country and track, and most of them are in athletics. And so it's like 3 things is a lot.
Yeah. Well, and 3 things actually turns into a whole lot of other things.
Yes.
Being involved with Graceland Student Government in and of itself is, I can think of at least 3 or 4 meetings you have to go to.
Yes, I was counting them on my hand. I was like, I have 6 meetings in a week, but I mean, usually they're not too bad. But I was like, wow, it's a lot, but it's really fun.
Yeah, very good. So, do you remember? Can you tell me a little bit about your platform? You started to say why you ran, but you ran for Graceland Student Government last spring.
Yeah.
And I just remember a little bit about your platform, but what was it you hoped to accomplish? I mean, and you don't have to stick with just what you wrote last year.
If I'm being honest, I don't quite remember everything that I said. It has been, I mean, it was back in February, was it not?
Yes, yeah. No.
So it's been a while, but I remember I really wanted to emphasize that Chaplains isn't only a religious organization, it's kind of spiritual. And I know that we've talked about this because there's a misconception of what chaplains are on campus, because I know that people are like, oh, it's only a religious thing. I'm not religious, so I don't want to be a chaplain.
Yes.
Or like, to me, I don't care what denomination or faith you are. I want you to feel like you have a place on this campus and that you belong no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Oh, and I think I remember talking about the worth of all persons, because that connects to the community of Christ and one of our enduring principles.
Absolutely.
That we have, and that's one that's always been really important to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, for me, it's interesting about the chaplains here, because we think about, like, I think of it in terms of like being spiritual friends with people in the house. And, your comment about religious, it doesn't have to be religious. Well, so far, I mean, a lot of our chaplains come from the community of Christ faith. A lot of them also come from the Catholic faith, or some, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them. And then other faiths as well. In fact, we've had some that are really spiritual but not religious in some ways, and then they just help people. So so that's good. So okay. So what would you like to do after you graduate from Graceland?
So I'm here to be a music education major. So if I'm being honest, I came in here and came to Graceland and I was like, I want to be a high school band director, and that was what I wanted to do. But as my time has gone on here, and I haven't gotten a ton of like in the classroom experience yet, I would also love to be a track or cross country coach if possible, because I mean, I would love to be a coach, but realistically, I don't know if I'm going to have the time to do that, but as my time has gone on at Graceland, when I did go and like shadow in a middle school, I was like, okay, I don't actually dislike this as much as I thought, because I remember going into Graceland, I was like, I do not want to teach middle school.
Oh, yeah.
Those kids are just like a lot to deal with. And my mom's a middle school librarian. And so I was like, I don't think I can do that. And then I like texted her afterwards. I was like, I don't actually dislike this as much as I thought I would, because I mean, I love kids. But I just thought that, but I know middle school is a very interesting transition period in kids' lives. Absolutely. And so I was just like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I really like high schoolers. So I'm not quite sure yet what age I want to do, but I want to do some sort of band directing and
And coaching.
And coaching potentially, because I love running.
Are there coaching positions in middle school too?
Sometimes, but I think
Okay.
I know that at least in my school district that I graduated from, there was sometimes a middle school teacher would go up and coach for high school if they needed help or anything. But yeah, usually, especially with track and cross country, even just track, there'll be some sort of coaching position.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. So middle school or high school. So, all right. So, I know obviously from our relationship here at Graceland, I know you've been involved in Community of Christ. How do you see that happening over the course of your life? I mean, do you hope to continue to be active in Community of Christ?
I definitely do feel like I want to be active in the Community of Christ because I really do love the church a lot.
Okay.
And I'm hoping next summer, one of my cousins, Cameron Harder, when he went to Graceland, he was a Graceland rep, and that just seemed like so much fun. And I love traveling, and so getting to be a Graceland rep hopefully next summer is one of my main goals, because I feel like that would be both good for like my future job and just like have fun and go to camps and spec. And I've loved Spectacular since like my dad used to be one of the directors. So I've been coming for years and years and years. And so I definitely have missed it over the past 2 years. And even if I'm not a spec, like a Graceland rep, I hope to go to spec because I'm going to be old enough to be a counselor. And it just spec is the reason why I came to Graceland, if I'm being honest, because just being on campus with all the people, it felt like home.
Yeah. So I guess the last 2 years we've not had spec because of the pandemic, but you wouldn't have been able to be there anyway. No.
I mean, I probably would have like visited,
right.
Because I'm just like, I can't not go to spec because it's just so fun. And like, I've made lots of friends in this country and out of this country just because of that. And it's been really fun.
Yeah. Did you get to go to IYF?
Yeah, I went to IYF. That was so fun. I have several friends from other countries, and it's just like,
you mentioned that. That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I went to IYF. So but luckily I got to go all 4 years. I was the last age group to go all 4 years before COVID happened. And so I was very grateful, and I feel so bad for everybody who didn't get to go. But hopefully it will get to happen again.
Yes.
Very soon.
I know, we live in hope.
We're all praying.
The pandemic ends soon, so yeah. All right. Well, that's very cool. So when we think about the church, do you have anything that you would like to hope that would happen in the church in the future, especially as a young adult?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm pretty confident spec will come back.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. But is there something totally new or on the horizon that you'd like to see the church do or be, or is there anything you'd like to say to the church leaders? If you have a chance, and maybe this is a chance, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking, like, I know that for me, I always want organizations to be more accepting, and I know like right now we're pretty accepting as in general, but like even more accepting and open to having people of LGBTQ or people of color in more powers of position, like leadership positions and stuff like that, because I know that especially in America, like all that is on the forefront of society, and like just more inclusion is always better in my opinion. And so I think increasing that, and I'm also really excited for my generation to become leaders in the church, because I feel like for me, I feel like the best worships and stuff like that I've had have been at spec or at camp, where it's young people leading the worship. And I just feel like I relate to that a lot more.
Sure.
Because I mean, I feel like not necessarily in a bad way, but I feel like in our church, we've not as much strayed away from like using the Bible, but I feel like, I mean, like obviously use the Bible, it's a church, but I feel like whenever I get messages from younger people, I feel more interested because usually they tell like stories and more relate that to like my life than just like lecturing, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I feel weird saying that, but like.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I remember taking a class in speaking or developing a sermon. And it talked about how like you always want to tell a story like that comes from your like if whoever's listening to you, like whoever's present, it's common across people, like across generations. So that's I think I shouldn't say better sermons, but the ones that people remind me are ones where I told stories about being in sixth grade and doing things like that, because so many of us have that experience in common, and that makes sense to me. I mean, so it's like, and I think that's what one of the things here, is like the church expression at Graceland is really run by students here. Yeah. So it's, so
that's one reason, like, I know we have at Graceland, we have 2 different services on Sundays. So we have Sunday morning worship, which is a more traditional style, like community of Christ service. And so that's still run by students though. And so it feels like kind of like I would be back at home, but instead it's run by students instead of by church leaders back home. But then we have Afterglow, which I think is my personal favorite church service.
So tell me what makes it your personal favorite?
I don't know. I just feel like I remember my freshman year, I think it was the first Afterglow that we had. I don't know why I remember this so much, but I felt very in the moment. And I remember it had been raining all day. This was 2 years ago. It had been raining all day. And the Cheville Chapel, which is where we have our services on campus, is beautiful, and it was packed. I remember like every single chair was full pretty much. And I remember just like sitting in the back, and they were playing, it's like a tradition, like it's a contemporary band of sorts. So instead of like piano music, it's a band. And so they were playing, and I remember looking out, and like the sun just like popped out, and it like was coming into the windows of the church in such a way, and it just like I felt like at home, and I felt the spirit in that moment. And so just getting that feeling, and I mean, it might not happen every single service, but like just going to Afterglow makes me feel like good, and I feel like the church is going in a positive direction whenever I'm there, and it makes me excited for the future.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's like last Sunday, I'm amazed at the modern contemporary music, and it's not contemporary Christian music.
Not necessarily. Like sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not. But I'm like last Sunday for me, despite the fact that I didn't know the songs at least very well, I've heard them, but I was amazed at how well they fit the theme, which is just really, I think, speaks to the younger adults that look out there and say, oh, this song really works well with this theme or this scripture or, whatever they're basing it off of. So that's cool. Well, thank you for sharing about that. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today about Graceland, Community of Christ, the future?
I don't know. I don't think I have anything else to share that I feel.
Okay. All right. Okay. We talk fast.
Yes, we do. I'm a fast talker.
Well, Laura, thank you for this interview.
Of course, it was fun.
It was fun. Thank you very much. And I wish you well.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, all right. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Project Zion Podcast. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or whatever podcast streaming service you use, and while you are there, give us a 5-star rating. Project Zion Podcast is sponsored by Latter-day Seeker Ministries of Community of Christ. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are of those speaking and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Latter-day Seeker Ministries or Community of Christ. The music has been graciously provided by Dave Hines.